we're back here with Connor Swalm with Phin Security. Connor, tell us just one more time a little bit about yourself, what your company does, and let's get into how to actually create a good culture in your company.
I am Connor. I'm one of the co-founders of Phin. I love to play video games, love to read. Feel like this is like a dating profile or something, but it's like you want to know about me. So I love
Long
video
walks on
games.
the beach.
I'm allergic to the sun. I have negative melanin in my body, so not without my SPF 2000. Buy some stock in copper tone before the summer comes because I'll definitely be bumping it up a bit. And yeah, Phin Security is an awareness training platform built specifically for MSPs to make sure all of the management happens without them needing to babysit a dashboard.
Nice.
That's Phin.
So today we're talking about how to actually create a good culture in your company. We just got done talking about how competing incentives exist within vendor education, but also, that kind of fits into the why culture. Why are you doing things? So tell me a little bit about how to create a good culture in your company. What is your theory here? What do I need to know as a manager?
So I have two overarching principles. One is a misconception that people have about culture. The other is what I believe to be motivates people in general. So First, when people hear company culture, they think of exactly three things, and I think they're all wrong. It's usually, what am I getting paid? What's my healthcare options? And what's my PTO policy? It's like all of those are like, I view it kind of like a Maslow's hierarchy of needs thing. It's like all of that is a bedrock to get to a good culture. None of that is the thing that actually defines your culture, right? It's the lack of them that defines your culture, not the fact that they exist in a way that benefits the employees. And then the second thing is, if you're a manager, if you're a leader, if you're an owner, if anyone ever reports to you, you should always ask yourself every day when you wake up, every day when you meet these people and they report to you, ask yourself, what would this person do if they were doing what was only in their best interest for themselves and their family? It's like, just answer that question, right? Because people will always do, well, mostly, unless they're being lied to, which is another thing about culture. They will always do what they believe is in the best interest of themselves and their family, even if that included sacrificing your company on, a funeral pyre of sorts, in order to do that. I'm just, it's a weird way of saying they would leave your company because there's a better opportunity elsewhere.
I saw a talk, I think it was at DEF CON or something, one of those years, where there was an FBI agent who was talking about incentivizing people to do the wrong thing. And so when you've got an employee, if you know that they're having an affair, for instance, that is a high risk to your company. So what's their personal life? I don't care. No, that's a high risk, because now if an attacker were to discover they're having an affair and wanted to leak that to their spouse or kids, what would they do to protect themselves? What would they be willing to do? What lines would they be willing to cross? Or maybe somebody's in a lot of financial debt and it's hurting their family. What would they be willing to do for $30,000 to get out of that debt, to make that debt go away? And he was talking about, these are very real situations we've had where we had breaches in companies and in national security, where somebody was incentivized by an outside actor to do these things. So how does your culture override that? How do you create a culture where you're healthy and thriving? And I took that as, from the security standpoint, as to how do I incentivize my employees? Yeah. And how do I create a world where they want to come? If we were not having a paycheck today, would this employee come into work? Would they be like, I am a ride or die with your company? So we're in an entrepreneurship company, right? We're still, cash flow is still fun. It's not like a giant corporation where it's like, oh, we're doing budget cuts. Okay, less ice cream this year.
It's a big line item, huh?
Anybody who's bootstrapped a company knows what I'm talking about. And so is this person a good culture fit for you? Are they going to stick around if salaries are good? Maybe, maybe not. But do you know? What kind of culture have you created? So whenever I tried for a job at the corporate world, I judged almost the entirety of the culture when I walked in the door for my first interview by the state of their coffee. If you walked up to the coffee bar and like big red flags, 25 cents a cup. Big red flag for me on company culture. Second, has the coffee pot even been maintained, cleaned, or anything? So I can tell, like I'm a bit of a coffee snob. okay, this coffee has never been cleaned. So no one really cares.
Yeah.
And it's a big part of their culture, right? You're walking in there, styrofoam cup, pot of coffee that tastes like somebody peed in it. And so how much do you actually care about other things in your culture? How much are you caring for your employees? I don't look at the PTO plan and stuff like that. I look at what are you doing for your client company on a day-to-day basis that's making this a good culture? Or how are you feeding that culture in a way that ensures that you don't want coffee drinkers in your shop?
Yeah. It's like you have to assume that those other things exist so that you can actually get to, is culture prioritized or
Yes.
not?
Yeah.
Because just saying you have a generous PTO policy, good healthcare, and good pay is not evidence that you have a good culture. It's evidence that you balanced a budget properly at
Yeah.
the end of a day.
If you get a PTO plan, that's great. So I get, let's say I get 24 days off a year to start. Awesome. But if you get a culture that does not allow me to use those days,
Yeah.
that's toxic.
That was
And now, like your bedrock was fine, but that next level up, you completely lost focus.
that was always my gripe with the unlimited PTO policy.
Yep.
Is clearly this is a lie, right? And that, like, even when it gets suggested at Phin, I'm like, clearly that's a lie. I'm like, why is it a lie? It's like, because if anyone anywhere in the organization said, I want to go take 3 months off right now, like, I just started with your company and tomorrow I'm starting a 90-day vacation. It's like, no, you're not. You're not working here. It's like,
Yep.
this is unlimited. It's like, this is clearly not unlimited because I have expectations that you should have expectations. So
Yep.
clearly we're lying to somebody, whether it's the new hire or it's ourselves.
We do the unlimited PTO or unlimited vacation at our organization. And our problem is getting people to take time off.
Yeah.
We have to incentivize them. I need you to go take time off.
Yeah.
But also you have to have a good foundation before you can think about unlimited PTO. Like, do you have a performance-based organization where you can manage expectations? You got to have that before you can get to unlimited. Because if the expectations aren't set, yeah, I'm going to take off for 3 months. Okay, well, you're not going to have a job when you come back. Well, you said I could take as much time off as I wanted. You can, but you did not meet your performance goals.
Yeah.
But if you have no performance goals and you let them take 90 days off, then you're going to be leaning heavily on your state legislature's ability to fire people, the at-will policies,
Yeah.
because you did not establish a culture of accountability and recognition.
Yeah. That's the second gripe I always have with it is when an employee decides to leave, there's no, and let's say they hadn't been taking time off, like you said, it's a big problem, is there's no responsibility from the employer's part to pay them out in some kind of severance and include days off, because technically there are no set days off that you'd have to pay them for because it's unlimited.
Yep.
And your point exactly is like, why does PTO exist? And the answer is, I always made sure to communicate this. It's not to make you take time off. It's, I believe your fulfillment as a human being should happen primarily outside of these doors here.
Yep.
And I want you to know that, and I want you to prioritize that, because you better be damn sure I'm prioritizing it.
Yep.
It's like, I get a lot more value out of this than you do fulfillment wise, just because, this is one of the things, like, I'm one of the founders here. So I recognize that the majority of your fulfillment is not in these walls. And I never expect it to be. I never want it to be that way. I want you to prioritize the way one of my employees put it was, PTOs for going to a funeral to spend time with your family. PTOs also for taking a vacation to spend more time with your grandparents before they're gone, or more time with your kids before this stage of their life is over and before they're at college. Yep. It's like, yeah, don't regret time you spent here because you didn't think you could spend time out there. You have all the time in the world to spend out there. Go do it.
Yeah, it's taken a long time for me to help people understand, because a lot of times we're bred into, or we are trained to behave in an 8 to 5 agrarian state of work. And so with our zero vacation policy, this is a cultural thing, like get your work done. Now, in order to get your work done, what needs to happen? Now, that means you need to make calls. If you're a salesperson, you need to make calls. Well, when are your contacts online? So Sebastian's on Pacific time. How does he get a hold of Eastern time? Well, he's got to wake up a little earlier. Well, if he's trying to reach people in Australia, he's got to stay up later. And so the advantage to that is now he knows if he manages his schedule and makes his calls and contacts and gets us this many leads a week, his schedule is on his own because his performance is based upon, or his paycheck is based upon his performance, not necessarily from a commission standpoint. It's like if we aren't landing new clients, if we aren't landing new meetings, then why do we have you?
Yeah.
And so he's able to balance his life. If he needs to go take his dog on a walk, he can because he's given that flexibility. Whereas like in a lot of corporate worlds where it's a little toxic, like, look, I just need to make a quick run, pick up my kid or drop off their meds at school or bring them their binder. I needed to just go run something quick. Well, you need to file PTO for that. You need to do this and this and this and file a TPS report. No, you should have the flexibility to prioritize your family and get your stuff done at work. Yep. You see these really mature engineers who are able to get something done in an hour that would take a junior level 4 hours. That's great. That's why I pay you more. But also, hey, you got that done? Go ahead and, head out, get some ice cream with your kids over lunch. Take an extended lunch hour. That's fine. And so it's all about you have to have a culture that can sustain that. Now, PTO also, one of the things I like for culture was in IT and security was forcing people to take a week off of vacation. You must take 5 continuous days off a year. It's mandatory. And you get a lot of pushback when you do that policy. But the whole goal is that the company isn't so dependent on this individual that they can't leave.
Yeah.
It's for the safety of the company and the employee.
I mean, we take it, I don't know, for better or for worse, the great experiment is still running. We've forced that in that we take off the last week of the year between Christmas and New Year's as a company.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of people are like, oh, well, why'd you decide to make that policy? It's like, oh, that is a very simple question to answer. I wanted to take that week of the year off.
Yep.
That was it. They're like,
what
do you mean? I'm like, I didn't want to work that week.
I mean, again, like our sales team, right, is a great way to expect. Like Adam Walter does not want to work the week of Christmas between Christmas and New Year's. No one's answering their phones then anyways. I'll keep my hand on the heartbeat of the company, but I'm checked out in them pajamas those times, guys.
Yeah.
And that's kind of followed in our culture of our company. Like everybody knows about December 15th, the world shuts down for us.
Yep.
But the sales team will be like, I'm going to try to do some year-end calls just to squeak in a last bit. But at the same time, they know that they might only be working a couple hours over the next few weeks. But that's because they want to get those last few calls in. They know that a lot of people aren't probably going to answer, and it's a waste of their time. So what they want to do is get those last few calls in, set up their January, kind of even things out. I might do a couple of the same things, check my email, make sure that everybody's getting paid, process paychecks. But largely, we take the time off. Well, you're not owed that time. You get to see that this is part of our culture. This kind of fizzles out mid-December because sales goes down, engineers are on breaks, they're all doing change windows. The culture of IT, of our extended network, slows down about December 15th as well. And it doesn't ramp up again until like the second week of January. And, if you watch your clients, you can align with the culture of your clients. So you have an MSP who primarily focuses on schools. Your change windows and your implementation windows are completely different than those of the MSPs that are focused on the banking or finance industry. And that's okay. But you're going to find that your culture is going to naturally align with that. And I think being cognizant of that helps you create healthy culture. So you're not creating those friction points, right? Like I want to do all of my implementations in March. Well, that doesn't work for schools.
Right.
Their E-rate window was February. How can you work with them? What kind of culture expectations can you set so that everybody knows that this is just how things are going? So, how do you feel like an MSP can align their culture? I know we all have different ways of seeing how our companies should run. Like you have a different style than I have.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's healthy. But what are the mistakes that MSPs are making? Are they letting cultures kind of run rampant? Are they just not being intentional? Are they just expecting everybody to behave exactly like the owner? What are the mistakes that MSPs are making?
I'm actually giving a talk on this at MSP GeekCon in May. I don't know if you're attending GeekCon, but it's the title of the talk is how to build a company culture worth giving a shit about. And there are two primary misconceptions that I see about the people in an organization. The first is managers believe that it is the responsibility of the, I'm air quoting for those of you just listening, underlings. I don't hold any malice or,
I refer to as minions.
But that's minions, okay. Sure. And the people on the front lines is how I try to phrase that, politically correctly. It's like the people that they manage, they believe that they're solely responsible for creating and managing a culture. And then if you talk to the people that report to them, they think the exact opposite. Like, no, it's my managers. It's the owner's job to set the culture and then tell us how to behave. It's like, hold on. It's like both of you believe that you're powerless. Both of you believe it's the other group's responsibility to create and manage the culture. And then the second misconception that I see is most managers just believe that people want to like fleece the company and do less work, right? They're like, oh, that culture is just going to prioritize taking more time off, doing less work, and me paying them more. It's like you are so misunderstood in what culture actually does here. It is not that is not the outcome of good culture. That is the outcome of horrible culture, by the way. And then the other perspective is that most minions, I'm air quoting again, most minions believe that the perspective of the owners is, oh, they just want to fleece me for as much work as possible. They want to pay me less and they want to put more money in their own pocket to buy another private jet or something like that. And it's like, wow. It's like, clearly none of you talk to each other. It's like both of you believe it's the responsibility of the other, and you've immediately assumed these horribly malicious motivations behind what culture should actually affect inside of your company. And it's like both of those are just completely off base. And the way I explain it to both is, hey, what does good culture actually incentivize? Well, it incentivizes that your employees all feel valued and invested in. They get to decide what that means. And the second is, hey, managers, hey, owners, what kind of quality of work and amount of work do you think you get out of people when they feel valued, invested in, and safe? The answer is a lot better quality. It's like, I don't know how to explain this to you other than like, are you worried about the quality of your relationships if you don't have a roof over your head, food in your stomach, and clothes on your back? It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, again, shows up in this weird, I mean, I might be bringing it up unfairly, but it's like.
No, you're good. I actually was Googling while you were talking there, trying to figure out what are the 3 needs of an employee. Like, I cannot remember what they are. And it's safe, valued, and invested in.
Yeah.
And, like the valued is, oh yeah, I love having Connor around. He's a great employee. But yeah, but does he feel that?
Yeah. Does he know?
Now, have you helped him understand that you are investing in him? Are you paying him well or sending him to training? What is it that he needs to feel that way, to feel vested in? And does he feel like he's safe in his job? Does he feel like his opinion can be announced in a meeting without being shot down or dismissed? And I think everybody's like, oh, well, I pay them well. They need to do their job.
Yeah.
That's so much more than that. By the time I got to my 30s as an engineer, I no longer cared about how much money I was making in a job so much as I cared about, I wanted to go a place where I was making a difference. Yeah. I wanted to go somewhere where people liked having me around and had people that I would be willing to drink a beer with after work.
Welcome to the reason why most people work at an MSP. It's like, why would anyone work at an MSP when they can go up the street to insert any enterprise or any larger company's name? They can do less work. Like you can clearly see the lower workload that exists at most enterprise IT positions versus MSPs, and also get paid way more to do it. It's like, so they're safer, right? Because there's a lot more job security in an enterprise. I'm bringing broad strokes to something.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
This is not in every scenario. People listening.
I'm just judging your obscurity.
Yeah. And so it's like, all right, so why would people decide to work at MSPs? And if you ask them, it started with, well, I felt like I could really see the difference I was making in the small businesses, the Main Street America that I was helping. It's like, that's a bastardization of why most people work at MSPs, but it's essentially, I see more value
in this world.
Yeah. I feel like I provide more value to more people directly. It's like,
I missed actually making a difference in the
Yeah.
small business world. Like I kept floating up. I was making some great salaries, people. And I was a high value employee, but I didn't feel like I was making a difference in my organizations because I was just towing the corporate line. When I was working for small schools, when I was working for small businesses, like, oh, hey, let me help you make more money. And I could brag about that. I'm like, I helped this industry make more money. These things exist now because I was helping them on the street do this stuff. And I missed that.
Yep.
I really, really did. So give me a couple solutions here to wrap up. What can you an MSP do today? Some real tangible things. What can they do today to create a good culture? They feel like they've just got a company, they don't have a culture.
Yeah.
What can they do to move the culture in a positive direction?
The first thing that I see is decide what level of transparency is you're comfortable with around the financials of the business. I can't tell you how many MSP employees have reached out to me privately asking for a job, right? And when I ask them, hey, why are you doing that? Why are you reaching out now? The answer is one of two things. I don't know what's actually going on in the company. I think the owner's just bleeding the company dry. It's like, well, one, it's their company. They could do what they want. But the issue here is not that they're doing it. The issue is you assume the worst when you have no proof otherwise. And the second is, I can't tell you how many employees when they're like, hey, I would love to know what an opportunity for advancement here looks like in terms of actually increasing my salary. And as a result, my workload. It's, people understand both come at the same time. And the answer by the owners is, well, we'll see. The worst thing you can do to an employee when they ask that question is create uncertainty. Because again, in uncertainty, they assume the worst. You can expect an employee to probably start shopping applications very shortly thereafter. And so what I would say is decide the level of transparency you're comfortable with, because you need to be comfortable with it. I would always advocate for more transparency instead of less. And the second is always be certain. If the answer is no, tell them no. It's like, hey, we're not making as much money as we did last year. There's no opportunity for raises this year. Just if that's the answer, that's the answer. Hiding it from employees or lying, like I said, lying to them, I called that out earlier, is the worst thing you could possibly do. Essentially, you've not only burned both ends of the rope at that point, you've thrown the rope out, and the jig will be up at some point. And it's only a matter of how big of a lie you can keep going is what's going to keep your employees there.
I really like that advice. I did not expect you to go that direction, because I am a big fan of transparency in finance. So if you come to our leadership meeting, our L10s, right front and center is our MRR. How much are we making in the room? And I think a lot of people get a little shocked when they first come into our company. Like, I get to see how much money we're making. I guess. And now I can show you what we're doing with that cash. When we reach this MRR mark, I can hire you 3 more salespeople.
Yep.
If that incentive, I can pay you more. I can start giving larger bonuses if we hit these levels. Now, every employee attending that meeting is going, how do I make these numbers go up? Because I want another person to help me make phone calls. I want that quarterly bonus. And then now they're thinking outside the box. They're thinking of things that Adam would never think about. Now it's not just on me to come up with solutions. My employees are now thinking, oh, we make absolutely no money off of reselling PCs. Let's find a better way to do this. Hey, I saw this workshop the other day on blah. It's going to help us make more money off of this thing. Now all of your clients, all of your employees are incentivized to help you grow your company because they see where you are. They're not just saying, okay, Adam's got the master plan, I'm just going to trust in that.
Yeah.
Now they're all thinking, like, how do I motivate myself? But in my opinion, if you have transparent finances, everybody's going to try solving that goal for you.
Also, if you're unwilling to share your finances because you're embarrassed by them, welcome to the biggest problem you should be solving with everyone in your entire company.
There you go.
As of yesterday. It's like, that is the biggest red flag that you are all focused in the wrong direction because you're embarrassed of the finances that you feel like you can't present to people who have a vested interest in the success of your company.
Definitely.
The second thing, you had brought it up and I just forgot it. Maybe I'll think.
Everybody aligned?
Oh, the second thing, if you want to think about this from a leadership perspective, is you as the owner or as the manager, you need to be able to make more decisions in your company while not being the person that made them. What I mean by that is you need to know that the decisions that you want getting made are getting done without you being the one making those decisions and having those conversations. If you had to be and everyone cites control freaks as the worst kind of manager, but even if you're artful at this, you'll still be a control freak, but people won't be able to call it out, which is even more damaging in a way. So you need to know that people are going to make the decisions you want them to when you're not there. The best way to do that is incentivize them exactly how you want.
Yep.
And you brought it up. Hey, you all want more employees? You want raises? Here's the number. Yep. Go ahead. We all get raises when that happens. It's like, and you will be shocked at how quickly everyone says, "Hey, stop talking about that because that's not getting me my raise this year. I don't care about it anymore." It's like, cool. Congrats.
And that's what I want to talk about PBOs, performance-based organizations. Those incentives have to be crystal clear.
Yep.
But a little bit fluid so that your employees can be creative in how they help you achieve them. What do I actually want? Like, so you can say sales numbers. I want 13 new clients this month, or I want 20 new clients this month. No. I want 30,000 MRR increase this month. And now the client, now they're like, okay, what are the biggest items on our service list that get us there?
Can we?
And if you can do that, now you're incentivizing appropriately. Otherwise, like, hey, I got 30 new clients, but we're making no extra money because I gave it such heavy incentives that it killed all of our profits.
Yeah. Maybe
that's $1 million MSP. Yes, but it's costing you $2 million to run it.
that's when you be embarrassed about the financials.
So yeah, like I just really believe in that. Transparency allows you to have more brains working on the problems that you want them to.
Yeah.
So you can be lazy. Yes, you're still a control freak. You're just incentivizing them appropriately.
I know we're slightly over time.
Go ahead and wrap up for us. And
I have always preached that performance-based incentives should be created and maintained the exact way I wish government policy was created and maintained, which is reduce abuse. Don't try to increase upside. It's like if you just prevent it from getting abused, the upside will be there because there's no other option but for it to be used properly. So another way of saying that really clearly is you will get the exact behavior you incentivize. There's a statement about computers. They're super dumb. They'll do exactly what you want and nothing you won't, exactly the way you've said it. It's great. Pretend incentives function the exact same way. If you incentivize more sales, what are you going to get? More sales. That doesn't mean more revenue. That doesn't mean more clients you want. That doesn't mean more users get deployed. That means the number of sales went up.
Yes.
So it's like, what do you really want? Incentivize that exactly.
And that gets us into the competing incentives from last session, where you can have a great KPI or what you think is a great KPI, but it's conflicting with what the clients or the employees are actually trying to accomplish. And you can ruin a company. I've seen it happen. I've been part of it where a KPI crushed a company. Good intention, bad result, because they didn't understand what the people were going to do to accomplish this task.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on, Connor. This has been great. We should do this again. We should do this more.
Yeah.
So also check out Connor's. If we wanted to find more about your podcast and what you're doing, where do we go?
So you can find me on LinkedIn, LinkedIn Connor-Swalm. Please connect. I'd love to chat about anything. Also, a podcast that I host called Gone Fishing is right there on LinkedIn as well. It's Gone-Fishing. I bring on guests just like Adam. I think I've had you on, right?
Yep.
Awesome. I forget. I record a lot. So
yeah, so do we.
And we talk about everything from social media trends to culture, to business culture and other things. So it's just a good time.
Yep. All right. Thank you very much, sir. And we'll see you later.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam.